So here we are hanging out near Lake Martin, and we're talking to Keith today to see how he built this shop, mostly by himself, with a little bit of help, a little bit of equipment. So, I mean, tell me how it all started. From what I remember, this land, it had a little shed over here, and this was all trees here, wasn't it? It was nothing but trees.
All of that was trees, basically, from that line where the rock wall is, all the way down to where you can see trees over here.
Okay.
I had, like you said, I had my little shed over there that I worked out of, and then it wasn't big enough. Wanted more. I wanted to be able to drive stuff up in the shop and really work on, as you can see, a dozer or whatever I want to work on. So first process was clearing the trees out. I did that. And then
Did you use a chainsaw? I mean, how'd you get it all done so quickly? I mean, there's some heavy equipment around here. I have to assume you did some of that.
Well, I bought a small, cheap excavator for $3,500. Old, loose thing, but it got the job done. I cleared the trees out, got it somewhat smooth, and then from there I paid a guy that actually knew how to do grade work and all that, and he came and graded it out from basically where the shop is now, and that just wasn't enough room, so I ended up extending that a little bit more. I dug it out a little bit more and ended up renting a skid steer from Home Depot to move the dirt from where I dug it out over to the other side. So there is about a 5-foot grade difference from one corner to the other.
So you got it all smooth, all graded, trees are all gone, and then from there, I guess the next part is getting this beautiful piece of concrete down. I mean, did you form it all up, or did you have some guys come in and do it and get it taken care of? How did that process work?
I did all the form work myself with a little bit of help from YouTube and asking friends that have done it before. But it started, I had to get gravel down, so I got a load of gravel out here, spread it out, and then I did the form work. Got it all formed up, and there was a few spots that were low, so I brought a little bit more smaller gravel in and got it all down, smoothed out. I bought a vibratory packer from Harbor Freight, packed it all, and then I put the vapor barrier down, and then put wire mesh. I didn't do rebar, did wire mesh, and then from there I paid a company to come out and actually pour the concrete, but I bought the concrete from the supplier, and basically a concrete company came out and they did the pour and finished it out, buffed it out, and everything else was on me.
It looks like they did a really good job. I mean, like you said, you prepared everything for them, and then so all they had to come in and do is just put the concrete in and get it all taken care of and finished. And you've got nice sharp corners here. The edges look really, really good. It looks like they did a good job.
They did a great job, especially when I paid them $3,000 to come out and pour it. They cut the lines. They cut in the slope for the garage door here.
So now, how thick is this entire slab?
The whole slab is 6 inches thick all the way throughout.
Okay. Now, is there a reason? Is that typically how most pads are done? Are they always all 6 inches, or is there a reason that you did it?
If you're just doing like a non-structural shop, it's going to be 4 inches thick normally. But this is structural steel, and I'm driving heavy equipment, trucks, stuff like that in there. So I really wanted that extra 2 inches for strength, basically.
Now, is there any other benefits that you can do? Like with a 6-inch pad compared to a 4-inch, could you maybe put in like a lift later to get some of this equipment up off the ground?
You can put in a lift. Say if you put a 12,000 pound lift in, and on a 4-inch slab you're only going to have, I don't know it off the top of my head, but it's like 75% lifting capacity, just because it's in 4 inches and it has the possibility to pull those anchors up out of the concrete.
Okay, so that extra 2 inches, it makes a pretty big difference then as far as the structure of putting lifts in and things like that goes.
It definitely does, especially if you're going to be driving heavy stuff on it. You have the possibility of cracking.
Now, what did you do special for getting these posts and everything else up? I mean, I have to assume that you had something other than a dozer and a skid steer to help construct the rest of this. I mean, this is really, it's pretty high off the ground. Yeah. Did you do it all by yourself? Did you have a little bit of help? I mean, the excavator probably could have done something like that, but what did you use? What did that process look like?
So, I work in a full-time job, didn't really go rent a piece of equipment because then I gotta get on it and get the shop done basically while I have the equipment. So what I did, I went and bought a 1950s model lull. It was one of the original lulls. It said lull on it, and that was a lot of work getting that thing going, but it was cheap. I paid $1,500 for the machine. I probably put $1,000 in it to get it going.
And that's some kind of a scissor lift or forklift or something like that?
It's a high lift forklift basically. I got it, and then I bought a small scissor lift that was also really sketchy. Put a little bit of work into it, but that scissor lift was also $1,500, and when I was done with it, I sold it for $1,700. So you don't have to rent them. Basically, it was my thing because I'm working a full-time job, so doing it in the afternoons on weekends, renting, you're gonna end up screwing yourself, just having to pay that rent and then not really have the time to work on it.
But that allowed you to get the equipment, use it a little while, and then turn around and sell it. And then now it's not just sitting here junking up the shop anymore. It's gone, you know. And like you said, working a full-time job, that allows a lot of flexibility where you're not paying something constantly. I mean, you know, you probably had a deadline to get this shop done. I mean, I'm assuming you do. But if you didn't, then again, you're not pressed for time or anything like that. So it sounds like it's a win-win all the way around. I mean, did you have any trouble with those? Was there a downside to doing that? I mean,
so I ended up actually buying 2 scissor lifts. One of them, the first one I got, I had to put, a few parts on it. I put some micro switches on it, but on that one, that was all I had to do. The other scissor lift, I had to put batteries in it, but it never gave me any trouble. And then the lull, it took me a lot longer to get it running. The fuel tank had holes in it, and then it needed a starter. It needed a lot of things, a lot of hydraulic hoses. So I ended up in that more than I wanted to be, but I still ended up selling it when I was done with it and made money off of it, and I didn't have to rent.
it sounds like a pretty good deal. And then so you use those pieces of equipment to help you assemble the posts and then get them raised and up into place from there?
Yeah, so the main posts, those are 4 pieces, the 2 rafters and then the 2 posts. I bolted those together on the ground and then put the forks up under it with the lull and picked them up into place. And I had, basically the whole time I had my one brother helping me do the whole thing. So I would lift the post up, the whole post and rafters, and then one side I would get it close, and then my brother would kind of guide it where we had it marked on the slab, drill a hole, put an anchor in, loosely tighten the anchor just so it holds it in place, and then go to the other side and do the same thing on it. And once it was set in place, it can't move, drill the other anchor bolts and then torque them down. So.
And you're able to do that with everything from the posts to the siding to the roof, and
Exactly.
I mean, even it looks like you got some lights up there and some wiring up there in the top now as well.
I use the lull for basically most of the structure of the building, the posts and then the purlins. Put the purlins on the lull on the outside of the building, and then had the scissor lift on the inside, lift them up, and then one person would drag them with the scissor lift over to the other rafter.
Now, how did you go about getting these doors up? I mean, I can't imagine that these doors are light. They look absolutely humongous.
Those are pretty big doors. They're actually 16 foot wide, 16 foot tall, so they're not light by any means. Basically picked them up with the lull as far as I could pick them up, and then put 2 chains on each side holding them to the purlins and let them down so I could get the lull up above the building then, and then I picked them up a little further. And that was just because the top of the forks would have ended up hitting the roof before I got the doors lifted as high as they need to lift.
Well, it looks like it's a pretty good job here. I mean, I don't think I would have done much different myself. I've never built a shop by hand, but is there anything that you may have done differently, knowing what you know now, using the equipment? I mean, would you have rather rented, or is there any other things that you may have done? I mean, maybe even a bigger shop even?
Yeah, basically for me, it was easy enough to buy the machines and work on it, but if you don't know how to work on a machine or something like that, it might be worth taking a week off work or something like that to rent a machine and get it done. But I don't regret the renting at all. Like I said, I made money buying those pieces of equipment and selling them versus spending money renting them. So I don't regret that. The only thing I would have done different, besides bigger, obviously, once you build your shop, you obviously are always going to want bigger. The only thing is my buddy, actually the one behind the camera right now, he asked me when I was building it, you know, have you thought about floor drains? And I was like, it's easy when you're building something to say, I don't think I would need that. But once you're done, yes, I would have done floor drains. But really, other than that, and I'm sure I'll find new things as I stay in the shop and work in it more. But other than that, I'm happy with it.
Well, it looks like you guys did a good job getting it all together and getting everything taken care of. I mean, the concrete looks wonderful. The building is wonderful. From what I understand, you talked about maybe doing some spray foam siding, or I'm sorry, some spray foam insulation here in a little while. But do you have any other future plans with the building? It looks like you've got some pretty heavy piece of equipment in here. Are you just planning on continuing to do some refurbishments and things like that with the building, or what are your plans?
Yeah, you mentioned the spray foam. I do want to go and add spray foam. So if you're building a shop and you don't plan on doing spray foam, definitely do spray foam, do the rolled in insulation as you go. But as far as future plans, I want to add some workbenches and get it a little more, productive to work in here. But as far as my plans go, it's just working on heavy equipment, kind of. I'm buying a dozer, fixing it up. I'll use it a little bit on my land, and then I'll sell it. So.
And from what I understand, you've got a channel yourself as well, and we can see how these projects go.
I do. My channel is Shoreline Equipment Company. You can see the dozer, the skid steer, and the Jeep on my channel so far. Doing a little series on those, getting them going, documenting the process. So, yeah, I definitely have a channel myself, and that's what I'm doing, is filming them as I go.
Well, that's awesome. Thanks for having us and showing us around, and we'll see you guys next week.
All right.